Good morning, everyone. Today is the Master Plan Committee meeting for November 5th. And we're starting at 8:35. We'll roll call of members present. Don Hayes.
Present.
Bill Rideout.
Present.
Karen Clement.
Present.
And I am Kim Craven. And I think as guests right now, we have Veronica Kell. So I don't have any specific additions or deletions. Does anyone have anything from their perspective? Okay. If everyone could just review the minutes, if you haven't already, that Bill had taken at the last meeting, see if there's any additions or deletions there.
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor, Don?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And I am as well. And so thank you for that. Excuse me. So general discussion. I hope everyone had a chance to glance at what Karen sent us. Karen Chapman sent us late on Wednesday. Tried to get that over to you, as soon as she had sent it to me. She had caught some additional typos that we hadn't, which is always welcome. And she had a bit of feedback. Anyone have any thoughts or questions related to what she sent over in general terms?
So I did have a question. Did she have the water chapter that we reviewed from Don, or was that a different water chapter?
That was a different water chapter. It
Okay.
was the one that, because we had sent it after the last meeting.
Right.
So now we have that chapter from Don. And I tried to go through as best I could because what was sent over wasn't in track changes. So I think I might have done okay with it. I'm not sure, Don, you can weigh in on that. But that was something that I
Yeah.
had for general discussion, is that Don did send an updated water chapter. And do you want to describe kind of what went on there behind the scenes, Don?
Yeah. So behind the scenes, I did speak with the water superintendent and had conversation with him regarding and especially updating this section on the PFAS and getting some more detail around the amount of water that had been produced by Harbor Trace and the work that has gone on since, and tried to take his words and integrate it in. When I sent it back, he had read, and I also forwarded him the original section. And when I sent it back to him, he had commented, in the master plan, we were using, I believe, the local numbers, which shows the population decreasing. And that's what we have written into the water section previously. And he was using the US Census, which is showing us as an increasing population. So we had a bit of a conflict there. So I tried to take his words and make it population neutral and just talk about the amount of water that is needed and being consumed by the town rather than a population.
Okay.
Because number of houses is likely increasing that are being serviced, but the number of the town population may be decreasing.
Okay.
And then especially in the areas of work to be accomplished, there was a lot of highlights that he had, and things that the water department needs to be working on, including the PFAS and a water treatment plant that will be needed to ensure that the PFAS is eliminated from the supply.
I think the one thing in that chapter that I had a little bit of a disconnect on and I think we can just put a sentence or two in today when we review it, is that he had a recommendation about increased capacity on Lunenburg Road with the fire department.
Yes, yeah,
And so we should probably just write that into a narrative because it becomes a recommendation without a little bit of discussion first.
okay,
And I do know that those types of things are a priority with fire, so I think it's a good thing to include.
right, and that was, yeah, he pointed that out for, fire department on the Lunenburg Road, and extension and getting the water volume down there, along with, bringing in the water sources from the north and, getting them over the bridge, where he was talking about a joint project with highway.
With highway, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So,
One other topic
Good.
that I had on the water,
yes,
Don sent out your copy and I was a little confused because at one point it seems to say we have plenty of water for our future needs. And then at another point it seems to say we are just about to run out of water. So did anybody else see that conflict?
yes, I tried to, in the version that I merged for everybody's review today, I tried to deconflict that a little bit, but Don, what's the take from the water superintendent?
The take is that if we don't continue in, with adding capacity to the well, and if I didn't get it in there, it's kind of like we'll talk about. Harbor Trace produced about 50% of our water supply to the town. So the work to get the Main Street well and the Cross Street well have in addition to the leakage program that was instituted, or the leakage reduction, that increases the capacity, but it doesn't totally replace the capacity of Harbor Trace. So his fear is that, and the water usage was up 2 to 3% over the summer. So the concern is, if we can, even when you look at that, that's a 16% total in, well, we were still pumping the water. So the difference was on the 13%, we were pumping it, but not billing for it. So it wasn't revenue, but that 13% is now in the system. And he fears that even with that the leakage gone, there's not going to be enough capacity in the water system to supply the town's needs next year. If we don't get the new Main Street well, the gravel packed well online.
Bill, I'm wondering, and Karen and Don too, the difference, right? So when the original water chapter was written, there was not these complications. Now the complications are there. So, I think it's probably a statement of the changing times, but also points to the vulnerability of, not having backup plans or resources to rectify the situation of the contamination or a well going offline.
That's certainly true.
Yeah. Okay.
So Don, you're basically saying he has short-term worries until, all these things are done.
Exactly. Yeah. There's short-term worries. And especially if we don't, as you said, if we don't get the new Main Street well online, which will add the required capacity. So with Harbor Trace gone, there is the concern that
it seems like Witches Brook is a concern as well.
Witches Brook is a concern, well, too. The PFAS numbers, although they're high, but they're not above the state's limits and standards.
Okay.
So there's concern that if it continues to deteriorate or the PFAS levels get higher, that we'll have another well that has to be turned off.
So Don, these purification systems that they're adding to remove the PFAS, would that be on a system-wide basis, or is that well by well?
It's going to be a system-wide. The ultimate bigger plan is to build a water treatment facility closer to Harbor Trace area, and have the water funnel through the one. So between Harbor Trace and the I'm drawing a blank on my well down the street here.
Which is
the Witches Brook.
Witches Brook.
The Witches Brook 1 and 2. With 3 wells being closer in proximity here, the plan is to build the water treatment plant more locally here. So it'll be probably nearer the Harbor Trace, and all water will go through that.
Okay.
So. And again, this because of the PFAS, this may be the section that may end up getting the most work or direction or changes in the near term. I did try to make a reference in here that for most recent information on PFAS and the work that's going on, because the master plan is supposed to be that roadmap for a longer term.
Right.
I wanted to put more emphasis on using the water department website, the town website for them online as the place to get really the most recent information on it.
Okay. Sorry, I keep coughing, guys. All right, anything else, Dawn, from your work since last time for the general discussion?
No, nothing additional.
Okay.
Yeah, I say that, and it's kind of like we're starting to on the finance committee, we're starting to review warrant articles, so we will start seeing some of the items in here start showing up on town warrants and things.
Some of the impact, sure. So I think another topic for the general discussion, the timeline. So, we had intended to meet Wednesday. Obviously, MRPC, was thoroughly reviewing the document, so we delayed until today. The planning board will meet Monday night, so we've got to get a draft over to Beth. In the broad scope of everything that needs to be done, it's really just addressing inserting all the bigger maps, and where this still has to be a little bit portable. I haven't done that, but are you okay with sort of out of session, as the planning board is looking at it, that I take the time to do all that reworking of what we talked about, having one main document with all the big maps just on one page, and then chunking the document into the different sections, so that once we get any final feedback from the planning board, where it's, just small, I'm guessing small changes, because they've seen everything except for this updated water chapter.
Do you need a motion for that? I'm fine with it.
Okay, yeah.
I'm fine with it as well.
We
Thank you.
also need one final editor.
Yeah,
right.
Now, Karen did make one sort of global comment about just double checking our recommendations from the body of the report into the table. She felt like there was a couple that were missing. Is there someone other than me that's willing to take the table from the back for the implementation and just glance through the chapters and the recommendations and make sure that there wasn't anything missed. And that we would just classify that under, general editing that didn't necessarily need everyone's agreement because it wouldn't be changing, just double checking.
I can do that.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So review now of the draft with any of the revisions. Do you want me to share my screen and go through them, or do you want to just go through it page by page on your own? What is the best process?
Screen
No, I've
share was
got-
good for me.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll probably be looking at my own document, but so just tell me what chapter you're on, because I had a few things that I wanted to add, but
Okay.
editing.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to use the track changes, and I'm going to go to the comments using next. If there's something that we don't cover that's on somebody's mind, then we can review that as well. Either if you catch it while we're going through or at the end. So one of her comments was about this is related to the population, the local census versus the US Census. So I just added in, this is, the pages are just different, Bill. It's page 5 on the bottom of the page 11 if you're in the electronic copy.
Yep.
So that's just a small change based on her input. So throughout, she's suggesting reference to the charts by numbers. Happy to do that. I just didn't want to do it while we were in sort of the throes of creating the document in case we moved something or changed something. I didn't want the document numbers in the narrative. I mean, the graph or chart numbers in the narrative to be in conflict if we happen to move something. So for example, if this chart 3, instead of on page 7, it was on page 23 and it became chart 5. I just didn't want the narrative to be mismatched. So do you want me to go through and put the actual chart table number and description right in the body of the text?
Well, I mean, do you feel like the text is stable enough now that you can do that? I mean, that's the question. Usually you do that when it's stable.
Yeah, I usually do that at the very, very end.
Right.
So happy to do it, but I'd like that to be one of the last things that's completed.
That
So again,
is typically what you do very, very last. You make sure
Yeah.
your figures and your thing line up.
So if you're okay with that being, under the heading of, what we do with the typos, that it's allowed. Because
That
it's
is,
not,
that's generally
it's not
considered
changing.
editing.
Okay, perfect. So address that one. Okay, this one here seemed like it was a little more than just a minor change. So I added this sentence right here, just to make sure everyone's in agreement. While the population trends are upward, the rate of growth differs within the region, as shown and it will be in the chart. So
That's fine.
as shown, okay. So that one. I'm going to delete that one because we addressed it. Same thing, refer to the table in the narrative. I'll leave that one in there so don't forget. Okay. Referencing the tables. We're on page 17 now, Bill.
Okay.
Karen was asking about the survey results. Right now, our copy of the survey results are in PDF. So I can't put them in until it's all in PDF. So respond to the survey. Just trying to think of where to say this. Maybe at the end.
I guess Karen is bringing up the general topic of, are we putting this background information in as an appendix?
Yes.
So we're going to put the survey in as an appendix. What else are we putting in the appendix? Because I really didn't see any description of what our appendix material will be.
So right now we have one is the accessory apartment bylaw
Right.
that Beth gave. That will go as an appendix in this. So do you want me to just say full survey results are in Appendix A?
Well, I mean, is this the first time we talked about this appendix? I think that almost belongs in the beginning, saying, we based
The
it on
table of
this.
contents or?
Right in the executive summary, it said this was based
Mhm.
on a survey. Well, go further down there. It said where our sources of information were in the very first paragraph, the very first sentence. Okay, to accomplish this task. And then that's where it seems to me we would mention what's,
Okay.
Full survey, yeah.
what's in the, a lot of the data that, something on the order of. Yeah, I mean, that's right. That's an executive summary. So that they know that at that point,
Yeah.
then whenever I mention survey, I can go look at it rather than have to repeat that everywhere.
Yeah. Is the full results.
Now, what about, do we have the meeting note? There was like a document that was from our,
The listening
community
session.
forum. Yeah, the listening
Yeah.
session. Because we mentioned that up there.
Okay.
What about, now you mentioned the consultants, which I assume are economic development. Are we putting,
Yes.
we putting that in there?
Totally up to you all.
I think all that, what's our background information, and should be listed right up front
Okay.
rather than having to repeat it through the document.
I agree.
Okay. Anything else that we're going to attach? Karen had made a comment about the table, suggesting that it go at the end in landscape. I did put it in landscape in the middle of the document, but that might be something if you all decide that you want it to be in the appendix. Although when we had talked about the chapter with the table 7.1 from the hazard mitigation, we had said that we wanted it right in that section. So
Putting it in the main document gives it more, emphasis. So
Yeah.
I like it in the document, but just because I think it's one of our major outputs is to say, you know, really, this is something the town's got to focus on.
Okay, so we'll go back to. Okay, so we've addressed this. That's the survey. Oh. Not sure what the. Oh, this was a comment. She suggested that we put in something about the Americans with Disabilities Act planning grant. So that's just a sentence on that. We hadn't addressed that anywhere else in the document before. And this is related to pedestrians and access.
Okay.
And she has it in the community's facilities. Everyone okay with that insertion?
Yep.
Okay. So now we're in water.
Yeah.
Here we come again. So this first comment, is there a plan in place to fix this? Or
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of like, so, and again, in the newer section, Cross Street has been repaired and brought back into service June of 2021.
okay.
Wait, are we editing Don's most recent document or are we editing the old document?
I was trying to figure out which was,
Mhm.
because there was one section that was yellow. And so
Right, that was,
Dawn-
yeah, in my document, I had filled in and provided the comment from Dave Vigneault.
but did you change this paragraph in your document?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, things have been changed and rearranged. I tried to, it seemed jumpy when I went back and looked at it, that we had talked, it just seemed choppy that it wasn't contiguous into what the discussion was. We seemed to go back and forth between current conditions, recommendations, and
okay, so I'm going
That's
to
right.
stop sharing for a second and pull your document. All right. Okay, so when I'm no, let me screen share here. Try to do these side by side. All right, so this is yours. So this chapter is the same. In this paragraph, you have Karen added groundwater in there.
Yeah.
And this was an addition from Karen. So this was an addition.
Yeah.
In most cases, it's a very large area and is dependent on the topography, elevation, and hydrology. This was an addition, aquifer protection. Everyone in agreement with putting that in there?
Yep.
Okay, so this is where Don, where do you have this paragraph?
Just a little further down.
Okay, if you can tell me where to put it. Okay, so after that. Okay, then this paragraph you have somewhere else too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just need a little help. Is that I just want to make sure. Like I said, I wasn't 100% sure. So where should this paragraph go? Don, do you know where it should be going?
Sorry, it's kind of I was trying to put it sequentially. The way I was trying to structure it was what's the existing, what's the maintenance, and then what's the current condition, and then where we are going forward. So I was trying to get it more into a background and then chronological order when I read.
Sure. So it would go right here.
Because we're starting to talk about the maintenance and things, so that's a good location for it.
Okay, so this is a new paragraph here. That makes sense. And this is the new sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. So this paragraph moves to after potential developments, right?
Yeah.
Can you help me find that place?
Sorry, I'm just having trouble matching between the two and where it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's after this paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while we're here, do we want to? I was going to say we'll come back. That's the paragraph that has the note about the inadequate water supply that we can, I think, wordsmith a little bit just to define more the
Yeah.
condition. And we don't. The note was just in there to try to help with what I was trying to convey. So we
Sure.
don't need that whole next section.
Okay. So then the population piece. So this is what I tried to help you with to get this paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
but this in yours should go higher. Oops. Did I do that? No, I didn't. And it will go right here.
Yeah.
There was some sub-bulleting that I fixed. You might have fixed it in
Okay.
yours too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. And then this was not supposed to have a bullet, so I fixed that.
Okay.
And then the recommendations. Okay, so this is this is not in the discussion anywhere.
Yeah.
And this isn't in the discussion. So how would you like to, where's the best spot to incorporate the increased water pressure
Um,
and additional
Um,
resources?
right. So in that, we had just had the paragraph that talked about the inadequate, the potential for inadequate water supply. I think it probably needs to go into that paragraph where we talk about the potential areas where
Right
the water
here.
system can be enhanced. I think that's the right place, because we talk about
Okay. Water pressure, water volume, which the right term? Capacity.
Yeah, probably capacity is.
Oh, it's actually, he's got it's volume pressure.
Yeah, I built. Yeah, that was the conversation. And again, I was at that point, we were just having a conversation. I was trying to capture areas that you were recommendations from him.
Yeah. I'm on like the wrong keys here. It's an additional. Okay, and then here, should this say Mason Road?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The solution. Okay, do you think that captures that well enough? An additional area of concern is the lower
Right.
water violent pressure on Lunenburg Road, which is a concern of the fire department. Water department has identified tapping additional water sources on Greenville and Mason Roads as a potential solution to the decreased water supply.
Okay. Now, do we want to make the note and the tie-in that in order to get the water supply onto the Main Street connection, it would require crossing the bridge, which would then be the joint project with Highway
Yeah.
to address the bridge repair.
Okay. Okay. What does everyone else think of what we've got in there for water now?
Just a question. Water sources, Greenville and Mason Street running to Bridge. What does that mean?
I gotta, is it the Greenville Road Bridge? Is it, I'm losing track of the roads up there. Is it Greenville that comes to the bridge and goes across the main street?
Yeah,
So,
right, but there's not a well there, right?
no, the wells, the water supply is further up, near Mason and Green, and
So there's
near
actually a
Mason.
well on that street? Okay, I didn't
Yep.
realize there was a well right there. All right.
And
Was potential well by the soccer fields, Karen.
Oh, all right. So something that's potentially could be
That's-
built. Is that what you're
right,
saying?
yeah, that's
Oh,
what
all
we're
right,
saying.
okay.
Is
Yeah,
so
I knew about the potential at the at the soccer fields, but it just didn't, I just didn't
Mhm.
understand this. Okay,
No,
thank
no,
you.
no, that's, I was gonna say, the water, yeah. It's a learning.
This has been our nemesis. And then this one here, the generators for the wells. So
Yeah, we,
I'll
they
just put
weren't-
it here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was probably identified in the MVP too. All right, anything else on water?
Um, I was gonna say, did we address that conflict that said, looked like we were gonna run out of water? Kind of that sentence was, it's not that we, kind of like, it's just, we won't meet the full need and have to put the ban in. If we don't address and try to get the additional supply.
Yes. So town's in a difficult position with the water. Water
Yeah.
department is in the process of replacing Main Street. If the project's not completed by summer 22, there will be a full outdoor water ban. The Harbor Trace well, which is out of commission because of the PFAS, has previously supplied water to half the town. Cross and Main Street will only meet part of the need. Without a treatment for Harbor Trace, which is Brook, there will not be enough water.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now that we've all seen them, are you okay with accepting the track changes from this chapter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna go right to the start of the chapter. I'm gonna get rid of your Can everyone still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this one here, this should be the treatment of Cross Street has occurred.
It has, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we need
and
to take,
yeah,
were being used had been. This has been corrected. Okay, here's a question from Karen. And I believe it's decreased, that 5 is the highest. No, 5 being the worst. So if 5 is the worst,
yeah.
And we're at 4 and 3,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that bad?
It's bad only if you are going to touch and modify something around those wells. I believe with the Main Street well that we're replacing with the gravel pact is going to eliminate that. So I think what we were trying to say is with that area is we don't intend on changing any of the existing wells or impacting any of the well areas. So, and the development is going to be in areas that are going to improve the well, and the new wells will be in the higher categories, lower numbers.
Okay, so should this be reduce or increase?
Why don't you just say worsen, because then it's clearer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or degrade.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll take this comment out. So we've addressed it. This is just some of the changes that we were just doing. Moving the paragraphs and such. Oh, that was accepting the recommendations.
Yeah.
So now we're yeah, I remember someone added this in at one point, but Karen's right. It's repetitive for what's below. So I'm going to take out that in parentheses about the 53% because it's down lower.
Yeah.
The
Right.
chapter, we can resolve that. Comment. Okay, this one I thought was significant too. So she says that we don't talk about the resources in the center like the churches and the common where many community activities occur, which includes the town hall and the annex and the Hart Library, which we don't use, but so I don't really know where to or how to fit this in, because this is the historic and cultural resources. We can put it here. And talk about the center. Does that make sense?
So basically, she just wants to add the churches and that we have activities on the common. Is that what her comments were?
Yeah, I just in the chapter, I'm just not sure where the best spot is.
Well, is there a center chapter?
What's the point she's trying to get across?
That we don't list the common and the churches and sort of the gathering places in our historic and cultural resources. So,
Well, is there a chapter that you can just, or a it's not a chapter, a paragraph that you can put in just about central activities? But then again, one of the, we have a church over in West Townsend, so,
right.
So it's not just the center that has activities. You want to just do a paragraph that mentions, we have meeting places, which include the churches and activities on the common from spring to fall.
Yeah. So this map shows the common.
Mhm.
So if we put it here.
You like yellow? Yeah. Do you like purple? That's purple. That's green. That's yellow. Green and yellow. Oh, we did. That's green. Look at this. Oh, that's pink. That's pink too. Ah, that's purple. What is this? Oh, that's white. Stop. This is what? Did you say what? Say what? That.
Okay. In the center of the town is the common. Surrounding the common are 3 churches with an additional one in West Townsend. Off the common, town hall, the annex, current location of recreation, the Hart Library, the fire department, along with several businesses.
Current location of recreation of the recreation department.
Yeah, thanks.
Of the just being nitpicky.
Yeah. And several businesses. The common is the location of a variety of community events, including fairs, festivals, and the band concert.
Mm.
I think that addresses that.
Yep.
Okay, we'll delete that comment. We'll accept this new paragraph. All right, so then here again. I'll do the same for West Townsend. Okay. How was that for covering West Townsend? And West Townsend is the historic Canal Street Bridge, also known as Stone Bridge, historic homes, Pearlbrook Strait Park, and the VFW. So we put in that West
Oh,
Townsend
you
is
mentioned the
also,
church is in the center of town, so you should mention the
yeah,
First Baptist Church.
And I don't know a lot about it. Is the West Townsend Reading Room worth mentioning?
yeah. Yeah. Okay. How's that now? I'm going to delete our comment. Can you guys say yay or nay to the paragraph?
Sounds good to
The
me.
sentence. Okay.
Looks good.
And then this we've already addressed. Dawn, you're going to double check those.
Yeah.
Go to the next one. Okay, this Beth was doing a little bit of research on this. It is out of date. The map doesn't depict the new one. She was going to look for the new numbers. I'll email her to see if she has that. Just a typo. Don, this is your suggestion of taking the semicolons out to make it consistent. It's the format change. Accept that. Typos. Okay, is there supposed to be a map here, or are you referring to the crash data table? So it's that. I think the map that goes here is below the sidewalks section. So this is the sidewalks. So I feel like this is the information, Bill, that you had gathered that set the stage. It's talking about the traffic volume,
Right.
and then crashes, and then what's been done. Extra space here. So this is kind of your section. So are you okay with how it reads now? Is there anything you want to change? back to
I didn't really have any suggested changes.
Okay. So in here, Bo, is it by design that it doesn't say to continue to West Townsend, just continue to support?
Wasn't there another recommendation that said continue to West Townsend, or am I wrong? Is that somewhere else?
I am not seeing it. So,
Well, if it's not there in that section, we should add that, because that was one of the things that came out of the survey.
yeah, because it's right here.
Right.
Okay, so we'll add it. Greenfield and extension to West Townsend. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it was a recommendation in the open space section too, but I don't think it hurts to repeat it.
Okay. Jody sent me something that's got to be inserted there on the numbers produced. So skip that one next. That's going to be included as the appendix, the accessory apartments. Okay, her last comment was typically, but not always, an implementation table would have dates when the project would be finished and a cost. Cost can be done like restaurants with dollar signs indicating the costs. Do you guys want to go through that exercise, or do you want the elected and appointed folks to do that?
I think we're setting goals, not that's too low level, I think, for a master plan.
I agree
Yeah.
with Bill.
Okay. So I'm going to take out that comment. We've addressed it. And that's it. Anything else, Bill? You had said that you had some comments or questions.
So what am I, that we have that big long table of all the prepared for weather changes. It's just that it was a formatting thing, is that you have at least the documents. Can you go to that table somewhere into it?
Go to the beginning here.
All right, so you've already done that, because it was just that it was centering things, made it hard to read the mitigation action, but you fixed it already. So.
Yeah, and I flipped it into landscape mode. I just did a section break within the document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and this is sort of what.
Read.
Yeah, this is what Karen was referring to, like estimated cost and priority.
Right, but that was a highly paid consultant doing that.
Yes.
I don't believe I'm that highly paid.
Yeah. And plus, the town really should work on this and hash it out and say, yeah, this is the biggest priority for us. The department heads have so much more day-to-day information than we would. So yeah, this one is fixed. Anything else?
Nope.
Don, anything else for you?
No.
Okay. So the plan will be to move this draft over to planning board for Beth, and hopefully, like I said, they've seen everything except for this water chapter at this point. I believe Well, there might be one, our introduction. I can't remember if they saw the introduction of the master plan and the goals and priorities. That might be new for them as well, just not recalling. So I don't think it will be a heavy lift, but should we plan a meeting for at some point after their meeting, just to review it and finalize it?
You say you don't, they may ask us for changes, or they may,
I mean, I don't anticipate changes to the chapters that they've already read,
right?
just the water chapter. And like our introduction to the master plan.
Well, let's set up a tentative meeting that if we don't need it, we'll cancel it.
Yeah, I do think we will need it, Bill, just because we have to enter this date.
Okay,
So it might be 5 minutes.
okay.
Okay, so when would we all like to do that?
Well, if they get it on the 8th, how long are we going to have them have it before we, you know?
Well,
then
we asked Beth to put the work session on the agenda. I would, like I said, I don't expect it to take them a lot of time because they don't have a lot of new material to review. So
the end of next week would work for us then?
I think so.
Can you push me off?
So
You know, if
saying
we-
the 12th, Friday.
Sure.
Friday the 12th, 8:30?
That works.
That works.
Can you push me off?
All right.
Do
I will
that.
schedule it.
He's happy that we're done.
I will mute me myself.
No, it's fine. All right. Well, I feel pretty good about it. I think that, and Don, you made a lot of improvements to the chapter that had been nipping at our heels. And so, and in Karen's comments, you know, she
Thanks
had
for
a
doing
lot
that,
of
Don.
nice comments in there.
Yeah.
So, all right. If nobody has anything else,
Then, well, hopefully next week I'll move to dissolve the committee, but this week I just
Yes.
moved to dissolve
Oh.
the meeting.
I think there's a hand raised.
yes,
Can I
Veronica?
say something? I just sent you guys email. We got recently the bikeability and walkability study from MRPC and the Canal Street intersection study. I don't know if you guys have seen those. So I sent them to the 4 of you. I don't know that they're relevant as far as putting them in the master plan or anything like that, but I think it's something you guys should see. And, you know, it's more a recommendation that maybe has, you know, a recommendation in the master plan that has already had a result in a sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just thought if there's information in there that might be of use and you guys might be interested in seeing it. We'll be
Right.
talking about them in upcoming meetings. I think December 6th for the Canal Street intersection is where we have MRPC coming in at a working meeting. And the UPWP we just got a couple days ago. So the walkability, bikeability. So
Right.
just so you guys know that.
I'll
right,
certainly put
I'm
on my
leaving.
Squanicook Greenways hat too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm leaving. Thank you.
Okay.
See you
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Veronica.
Veronica.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Bill, now it is your turn.
All right, I
Hmm.
move that we close the meeting at 9:49.
Second,
All in favor? Karen,
I
Don,
aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and I'm in favor as well. Let's hope for a good meeting with the planning board. I will try to be available to them online in case they have any questions. Monday tends to be a harder night for me, but I hopefully, you know, I can get wrapped up and join them to see if they have any questions. If anyone else wants to join me, of course, you're welcome to. We just need, well, we wouldn't be able to cross post, but because there's not enough time. for a joint meeting, but I will try in case they have any questions to be there. And I will see you all on the 12th.